Hello and welcome to the Pro Detailer podcast. Our series continues and we are in Germany, of all places. And we are in Remseck. I'm trying to give you hints as to who we might be talking to right now, which is a Swabian part of Germany, I'm told. And it's near Stuttgart. And Stuttgart is the Detroit of Germany.
Yes, you can hear the bullets flying out past the window.
But more importantly, we are joined by Matthias. Now, you may not have heard of him because he's a man who doesn't jump around on social media. He's not a big extrovert in that regards, but he's actually a very important mover and shaker in our industry. He is the managing director of Scholl Concepts.
Hello, nice to meet you.
And how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
That's brilliant. Well, what I thought is we have been shown around this amazing facility that you've got. Mm-hmm. And it's not just one facility, it's currently two facilities, and then a third, and then a fourth is effectively in the process of being built.
Yes.
Currently, I can see it, and it's a flat piece of land with a digger.
Yes, correct.
You're making Diggerland.
I have been
Theme
resisting it going over. I've been aroused today by the number of forklift trucks that you have here. I like a good forklift truck.
That's good.
And diggers, they're just it's like catnip for me. But anyway, enough about that. Scholl is a fascinating company. For me and for I think most people in the detailing industry, you say Scholl, you mean compounds. You know, compounds is your business, it's your speciality.
Correct, yeah. But not just the compounds, also the waxes, cleaners, but also a very important part of our business is the polishing pads.
Yeah.
So we also manufacture them here in Remseck.
And actually, interestingly, we've had discussions obviously today and stuff, and you're talking very much about the system. So adding a polish and a pad as a single entity, as a system, rather than everything considered in isolation, which is interesting. It's how Rupes, for example, talk about with their machines and the pads and polishes, all a system.
Yeah, that's why the name Scholl Concepts. It's one concept. And that's why we try to focus on our key products, but still we like to present a whole system to the end users.
Gotcha. Yeah, like kind of a solution, I suppose.
Solution.
Is another way to yeah. So, history of Scholl.
Yes.
In no more than 200 words.
I try.
When did Scholl start?
Back in 1962. So the first generation, or it was built up the business by Roland Scholl. He already passed away end of 2015. So now we're in the second generation. It's a family-owned company, 100%. No other shareholders, so it's 100%. Frank Scholl, he's still in the business, but more in the background. He's responsible for building up new buildings.
Yeah, we were told.
It certainly does a lot of the aesthetics of the sort of the brand image around headquarters here. So all of the furniture, all of the colour schemes, everything like that. That's kind of his baby.
Yes. And it feels more advanced than that, in that you'll see in the photos when you buy issue 17 of the magazine, where we'll have the full write-up. But the lighting, there's a lot of glass. There are chill-out zones. It feels like it's been designed around the employee and kind of the user of the factory, if you like. Yeah. Rather than, there is lots of Scholl logos and brands, but rather than as a showcase, it's more like this is where we've got X number of people working. How many people do work here, out of interest?
Around 55 to 60 people.
That's a decent sized workforce. So you've got very much responsibility, I guess, to those people.
Well, yes.
Make sure they remain happy and stuff like that.
Yeah. This is one of the calmest office setups I've ever been in, I have to say. Everybody's working very hard and no one's disturbing anybody else, and it's just a nice.
It's quite relaxing.
Nice and calm.
Yeah,
I'm not used to it. I'm used to frantic fires and things like that.
It's almost like the kind of. Do you pipe gas into the offices just to keep people calm?
Sometimes.
So we're back in 1962.
Yeah.
We've got the swinging 60s, I guess. Not that any of us around this table can remember that at all, honestly. But we've read books about it. And what was Scholl doing in those early days?
Well, the owner in that time, Roland Scholl, he was selling out of a car. So he was driving around this region, around Stuttgart.
Yeah.
and supplying all the products what you need for body shops, and for the car industry. So he was selling compounds, pads, cleaners, all type of products. He also sold in that time some SATA spray guns, so everything what you need, accessories for.
So he was like an early
industry.
Snap-on man in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of in England we have something called the Avon lady, which are people who go around houses selling shampoo and cosmetics to other housewives.
Yeah, but he also was right back when he was starting. I don't know how it is in the UK. Back in that time, everybody was thinking compound polishing is like a miracle. Yeah, so he was showing off the compound on a supermarket place outside and was burning the paint and so on. It was he was like showing a miracle, and this is how everything started. And then he's, the people are interested, and so he added more and more products. The first product in that time was called Super Cream.
That sounds
good name. It's a good name.
I could do with some Super Cream.
Super Cream, yeah.
Don't know where I'd put it, but that sounds cool.
It's when it's got an injector on it.
Yeah. So this is how everything started, and then when Frank Scholl came into the business, so after he was ready with his university.
So Frank's the son of Roland?
Yes,
Yep.
Correct. And when he came in, everything started to get more bigger. First private label customer, but I think the most interesting part in that time, or the biggest success, was to be a supplier of a car manufacturer. So we were one of the pioneers in that time, back in that time, 1999, when we presented one single one-step system to the car industry, and that was in that time Audi.
So Ingolstadt. Did I say that right? Is Audi Ingolstadt, or have I gone completely
Ingolstadt,
wrong?
isn't it?
Ingolstadt.
Ingolstadt, yeah, and Neckarsulm. We have Ingolstadt. It's in the Bavarian region, Ingolstadt, and here in the Swabian region we have Neckarsulm, and still our customer. So we, until today, we still supply our compounds and our pads to Audi.
And that's really, I mean, to get that affiliation, and actually we've had a presentation earlier today and we've shown all the other brands, some of which we obviously can't talk about for legal reasons, that you supply, but we're talking over a dozen mainstream car brands, and some of them are pretty good. I mean, not Subaru, but they're okay. They're quite high-end brands. And just that relationship that you have, and bear in mind, this isn't just a reputation gaining thing. It's not like you once sold a bottle of polish to this, to this company and say, oh, we're suddenly the supplier. You're generally providing a solution, a concept for these major manufacturers on their production lines.
Correct.
And the main issue that they're facing is the cars that obviously go through the production, and they're on the factory line, so to speak, and then they go for a kind of a PDI style inspection, so before delivery inspection. And it turns out that somebody, let's call him Klaus, has accidentally dropped a door or something, and there's some damage on the vehicle that they want to polish out as best as possible without sending the car back into the ring. Correct.
Yeah. Not only that, but if it goes through the painting area, you always have some imperfection in the paint. So mainly, what they are facing is some dust nips. What they have. So in general, one bonnet of the whole bonnet has around 5 to 10 imperfections, and so they send out these single imperfections, and then you have to polish it out within 8 to 10 seconds. That's the processing time.
Blimey.
And so that's why it's always very important to have a very high quality driven system, and this is what we do every day. And so if we start some new developments, it always starts somewhere in the OEM plants or in cooperation with the paint manufacturers.
And again, that's a big difference with a lot of, should we say, non-polishing detailing products, is that they will start with the chemistry or with a kind of a requirement, almost a hypothetical requirement. We have, I don't know, a certain sort of detritus is on a car, say oil or something, and then we've got to remove it. But you guys are working with the same people who are making the paints, so that is kind of at ground level, should we say?
Yeah.
which I imagine kind of really helps with the development and all the rest of it.
Correct, yeah. And the problem, well, it's not a problem. The good thing about the paint, it gets harder and harder, so scratch resistant, but you still need a solution how you polish this type of scratch resistant coatings. And so this is always something new. And as soon as the paint manufacturers starting new developments on paints, they also ask us if we can help with a polishing system.
Oh, so you get like early access.
Correct.
Yeah, and I suppose that is the other benefit of paint always changing. It's always going to have stuff to develop, and it's never going to be, otherwise life would get a bit dull, I guess. Okay, so 1999, you've basically invented a one-step. What is the kind of, how does the story continue?
Well, so as I said, also one of our first private label customers, what we started, and so we increased our business rapidly with our single step system in the OEM. So further OEM manufacturers came on board, and we increased business extremely on private label and on the OEM side. But when business started, we were not a manufacturer. So back in 2002, we started with developing our own products. And in 2004, our first batch
was released.
Yes.
So you're coming up to 20 years celebration of your first kind of homebrew compound. So
What was the first compound?
S17.
S17 was the first one.
Was the first one, yes. Purple, like our brand a little bit. Well, it's not purple, but
I always remember pairing up S17 with your the purple foamable pads on a rotary as kind of a backup to everything. If that hasn't worked by now, then let's repaint it.
Well, because this is the thing, we've talked about OEM, but OEM remains 60% plus of Scholl's business.
correct, yeah.
So the chances are, even if you haven't used Scholl in a Scholl bottle, there's a very good chance you might have used Scholl in an unscholled bottle.
Probably yes, because I would say we are the biggest manufacturer for private label.
In terms of compounds and pads.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, back in the early days, the big player was 3M.
Yeah.
And Maguire's, but 3M in the body shop and Fast Cut. And we were talking before recording about how one of your proudest moment, bear in mind, and this is what's really interesting with Matthias, is he's started at the bottom. You started very much kind of in the mail room, so to speak. And are you related to the owner at all? There's no nepotism or anything like that?
No.
So you fought up on your own merit from, what was your first job when you came here?
Working in the warehouse, so responsible for packing all the goods.
Forklift trucks too.
Oh, did you drive the forklift trucks?
Yes.
You've already mentioned Klaus.
Yeah.
Is there a video?
Correct.
There was a very famous forklift safety video in German
Klaus,
about Klaus, and I think during the course of a day he gets speared by a forklift, run over, and had chemicals.
No, Klaus does most of the killing. He's a mass murderer.
I thought he's the one that spears them. Then,
yeah, he's the one behind the thing.
if you haven't seen Klaus the forklift driver, go on YouTube and watch it. It is hilarious. It's very 80s, isn't it? Or early 90s.
Early 90s, I'd say. If you found Mr. Bean funny, this is going to give you an
and this was a
aneurysm.
genuine safety video.
Yeah, shown to people. And that can be found on YouTube, which is found on the internet, which is found on computer. So ignoring Klaus. So you started in
Don't
the early
ignore
days.
Klaus, he'll run you over.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Klaus at all times. He's lethal. But you started in the warehouse, and what happened after you'd done your shelf stacking, so to speak, and your forklift truck murdering?
So I was responsible also for the team. So I was like a team leader of the warehouse.
That sounds more like a dance crew now.
Dance crew.
Yeah.
Correct. And after that, I came into the production area. So I was responsible for the production planning and for purchasing all the raw materials for that.
So that's a big logistical job, isn't it? Because you say, right, customer X needs 4 tons of this, customer Y needs that. In order to create this, we need 14 this and that, and it's like it's a seriously stressful job, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, be very careful where you put decimal points on orders.
Yes. Why do we need 9 million tons of aluminium oxide?
Hey, what have I done? Italian all of a sudden.
Well, when abroad. So you're doing production and stuff like that. And am I right in thinking you then moved towards a kind of development side?
Yeah, also because of the purchasing part, because the main raw material for compounds, for instance, is aluminum oxide. So there are a lot of specialties on the market. And the key is to have the right alumina. And this is always not so easy because you also have to develop together with these suppliers. And it's always very hard to find the right sources. So,
is there a place in the world that mines the best aluminum oxide?
well, it's a secret. You understand?
I don't think he knows.
Well, because with aluminium oxide, it's one thing. Very, very few kind of compound manufacturers make their own aluminium oxide. I can only think of one over in California. So it's really down to picking a good supplier,
Yes.
working with them to refine it exactly how you want. And we had the same with Andreas at Nanlac, saying it's really important to get, but it's also about consistency. And if you get a cheap compound, I can't remember the word he used, but it's like two kind of standards of quality of aluminium. Once you've got over the shape and the size and the rest of it, there are kind of two processes. One is almost carbonated or calcinated. Calcinated.
Yeah, but it's also the most important part is also the high purity of alumina, because somehow you also have some other particles inside, and as more as higher the purity of the alumina, as better the gloss level and cutting performances.
So that's like, I guess,
when it's cut with baking soda.
That's how I take my Calpol. So I guess it's like with carbon and steel. The same sort of principle. So you've got that, and then obviously you've got all your lubricants, you've got your glycerol and stuff like that for reducing the dusting and all the other.
It's like mixing
a recipe.
Yeah, normal recipe of a nice cake.
Or in my case, a poisonous cake. When you were developing all this, and we're talking early days of your kind of things, and the first product you said was, S3?
No, S17 was the first one, but then...
And then we have S3.
S3 Gold was one of our biggest success, and also the cash cow, so the main seller. Reason for that is we were always trying to search for the right product, because benchmarking, we started benchmarking, and the
fast cut, I guess.
Fast cut of 3M is, I don't know, in every body shop. You can still find it. Now they have a little bit of issues because of the solvent, so the recipes changed. So now it's, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's...
It's much more environmentally friendly, but might not be quite so effective.
Yeah, so,
but you can drink it. So you can't drink it.
You can drink anything once.
Yes. Actually, to be fair, if you're listening to this and thinking, I'm going to go and get a drink, go for it, dude. Go for it. Natural evolution.
Yeah. So it was always the benchmark, the fast cut, the green cap of 3M in body shops, because the cutting performance was very fast. And so this was always the benchmark, but we tried to focus on a very high gloss level without heavy solvents, because this was all the bad part about the 3M product. And so that's why when we came out with that product, I think it was something special, something new, something better. And everybody was looking for that product, not just on Scholl, also for private label. So it became the new benchmark, and that was something we have been very proud about, and also me personal.
And S3 Gold, what year are we on now?
When was that developed? Good question. I'm not sure.
I'm thinking
2007
or 8.
7 or 8, yeah.
That sort of area. Because that was kind of at the same sort of time. Because when did you start using S3 Gold for the first time?
Probably around 2011.
And it was already well established.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So we had that as a kind of a main thing, and the company itself has moved around. So at the moment we are based in, as I say, near Remsek, but we've been down to your training facility, which I believe is nearer to where the first Scholl offices were.
Correct. Yes. It's in Freiberg. The city is called Freiberg. And there is where Roland Scholl started. It was his second building. So he started his business also close to Remseck. It's a part of Remseck. It's Neckar-Gröningen. And then he moved to Freiberg with his facility. And so it's an old building. And over there we have now our detailing center where we have the cooperation together with Flex.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we went there this afternoon and we have photos coming out in the next magazine, but essentially it's a fully equipped and it's got lots of Flex, lots of Poker Premium, lots of very cool things around the place, and a black Kranzel.
Yes. No, it's black K10, wasn't it?
I think so, yes.
I think they might have painted that themselves.
Ah,
but
that
look very
would
cool.
make sense.
Nice and stealthy.
Yes, it's the invisible Kranzel. And in terms of this site, and just to kind of give you an idea, it is a vast building. Do you say the other site was 15,000 square meters?
Around, yes.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to go and get a ruler. And this place is a bit smaller, this building, or is it the same?
It's a bit smaller. This building is a bit smaller, but what we are planning at the moment, where we will start probably in July, it will be bigger than the place.
Big another one.
It was quite cool when I went over to the second location over there where you do the pad production, because you go in there and it's just again nice, very calm, very chilled office. Could almost be a bit of a trendy wine bar some of the day as well.
Bean bags.
There are bean bags on the floor. There was a ball that you could sit on. I didn't, because I don't embarrass myself any more than I generally do.
Sit on balls and avoid it.
You go through the glass doors, past a little storage area, along a little corridor. Open up a door and suddenly there's Narnia on the other side.
And it's warm. It must be the warmest factory I've ever been in my life. I'm used to wandering around factories, with and without permission, and getting cold. And this one I took my jacket and I started sweating.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. Particularly the bit in where they're doing the cutting of the pads.
Yeah, it's because of all the
machine.
All the heat press stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing I hadn't actually seen before was we've seen foam arrive at pad manufacturers in ready-to-cut thicknesses, but you actually got the cutting machine from fat from a full fat piece of foam down, so you can
it's like a foam block, because if it's foamed, it's they say always at the foam manufacturers it's one street. One street is about 60 meters long, so if you want to have one quality, you have to foam 60 meters. And then it gets cut in foam blocks. And so we have a foam block slicing machine.
And that's very good. And it's a weird mix of automation, as in it's a machine with a computer connected to it. And there was a very smiley chap next to it with an awesome beard, just as a random comment. And it was a mixture, because it was all computer controlled, but at the same time he was manually putting the slab of foam, so to speak, on it. And then he had a wonderful old school analog micrometer style thickness measurer. And so as it was coming through the blades, and think of it like basically a big guillotine crossed with that cheese grater, when you've got a multifunction cheese grater, one of them is a slicer, kind of looks like that. And he was just sort of measuring the thicknesses to probably the 1/10 of a millimetre, I'd imagine, that sort of level of accuracy, and then putting the finished ones there. I think I annoyed him with the photos, because you asked me to get a cartoon-style strip of each stage that he was doing it. So I was stood a bit close to him going click, 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 click. Occasionally I just poked him just for fun. And so that was
that's the thing.
good.
You weren't using your camera; you were standing there going click, 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 and that's just weird.
Look, I ran out of batteries. All right, I've got to look professional. And then further on, then you kind of continue on the realm. And the first thing is they're sticking the hook and loop, I guess we call it, rather than Velcro.
Yeah, lamination part is that.
That's the one. And it's big heat presses, which was again pretty cool. And I didn't realize
You don't want to get your hand trapped in.
Oh hell no! Yeah, no. And I don't know what sort of temperature do they press on at the back for the adhesive.
140 degrees.
Fahrenheit or Celsius?
Celsius.
For about 45 seconds, something like that. It just makes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's a heat press. So think of it like a toasted cheese sandwich maker, but one that you could toasted cheese sandwich humans. That's the sort of size. And now put that image in your head and thank me later.
And just see where that trip takes you.
Yes, down a dark hole. I'll see you at the other side. And then the next side of it was kind of the secret bit. There was a tall chap who apparently worked for the business for 17 years, even though he looked He looked very healthy.
Okay.
I imagine you know who I'm talking about. Hopefully, yeah. Well, he wasn't dead. But this was the area where you put in some of your signature bits, and this was a cameras down situation because it's all very, very secret. I mean, we had this at Rupes, we had this a couple others, and they got clever stuff. And sometimes they say it's dead secret, and they guide us into a room, and there is a vat with something mixing in there, and we're like, dude, this is not a secret. We have seen this thing before, but we walked in here and it was genuinely different. It was something we had never seen. It was just kind of like a multi-tool slice and dice for pads. And so at one end, now do stop me if I'm about to reveal a big serious secret, throw something at me or something like that, but gently. And you had a simple round pad, foam pad, with no contours on, no texture, no slits or cuts or anything. A blank, yeah. And it went into this machine, and this machine has kind of 4 stations. The first station would spin and add a side profile. The second station had some spinny, cutty, discsy things, which went down once, and then it rotated and down again, and then you create your kind of it's not a waffle, what do you call it?
Your crosscut.
Your crosscuts. And then it came out the other end, and it went into, and then it was neatly packed in a box and stuff like that.
Yep.
I could have sat there for hours. If it wasn't for being asked to move on, I would have just sat there watching this thing going around. And we've got some photos, but we're quite restricted for obvious reasons. Yeah, and this factory was, I realised I've just started talking about this factory experience, but that's how cool it was. So that's in one building. The building that we're in currently has got your R&D, it's got your kind of public-facing customer service, that sort of thing, sales and stuff like that.
Accountancy,
that's the exciting bit.
Yeah.
Oh, check out that. What a calculator they had.
IT department.
Yeah.
Never forget the IT department.
Oh,
IT.
I do, and I have been in one. So that facility is really cool. And as we say, in the future, behind us.
And downstairs, the mixing.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, mixing. Very important.
Very important. And
a room full of 3,000 KitchenAids. Who would have thought it to mix it all together? It's secrets. I'm giving them away. Sorry.
Damn it! You're going to get us kicked out again. And also, yeah. So we had big mixing vats. We had labeling machines for a combination of kind of doing big batches of standard bottles, and then they had some smaller machines on the side for if you're doing, I imagine, OEM stuff to those people who come along and say, "Oh, I just want a standard product, but I want it in this bottle that is shaped like an S, and I want you to label it with foil and make it really complicated."
Can make everything happen.
Yes. And we met your production manager downstairs as well, who showed us the aluminium oxide in its kind of natural form. And it was a massive, great big bag of the stuff.
Very big bag of white stuff.
It did look potentially Colombian.
Cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
We did ask if it was easy to get through customs.
Yeah, and the hot news, I gave it a sniff. It's not cocaine. Got a really sore throat, though, I tell you that. And the pink elephant standing over the other side of the table. So we do all of that bit together and watching all that, and again, it's all in the magazine because obviously this is radio, or effectively radio, so it's difficult to describe things, but it was big and impressive. And the big difference I noticed with your vats is that they're plastic. All the other vats that I've seen have been stainless steel, but they've been fixed vats, and so it looks to me the difference that you have, and again, give me like eye signals if I'm giving away too big secrets, but the big stainless steel ones are fixed and then they drain out and they go somewhere else, but your ones you actually change the whole vat over.
Correct.
Is this so that you don't lose residue?
Yes, also, but on the other hand, I think if you compare us to other manufacturers, we have smaller batches. So if we have private label customers,
make it a wider variety of products.
Yeah, correct. Normally, if you go to other sources, you probably get what they also sell under their own label.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And we can make it more.
Lots of different ones. And you don't, of course, have to rinse out between each one because it's just got the same chemical in it.
Correct.
That's very cool. And then there was a warehouse next door of all the stuff that you'd made with lots of labels going off all over the world and stuff like that. And we definitely didn't take any photos of those. Actually, we didn't because it's all in German. I didn't understand a word.
You can still take a photo of stuff in German. It doesn't like...
Google Translate doesn't work on my camera. Anyway, so I was thinking what a nice little sort of topic is private ownership versus public ownership. So this is something that hits all companies. They almost all start private and they start small and then they become successful. And once they get to a certain level, you start getting other companies sniffing around thinking, we could buy you. And there are various reasons. You could get, for example, a hedge fund. So there's a big German manufacturer that we all know of that's not a million miles away from here that's been bought and sold by hedge funds repeatedly and it did it no favours. And that even when they are bought by a big kind of financial institution, on the positive side, those who owned it suddenly become very rich and they can afford Subarus. But also on the positive side, they might do a big cash injection in order to upgrade the facilities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the disadvantage is that all the money made will go off to the shareholders, not be reinvested in the business.
Correct.
And the feeling that I get here is that a lot of the money made here has been reinvested, and everything is quality. Fixtures, fittings, light switches. There's no sign of any corner cutting.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that could be, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's because of the private ownership that you've got.
Correct. Yeah, I think. For sure, it could be a way how it could work if you have somebody who is purchasing your company. We also had a lot of inquiries.
You've had offers, have you?
Yeah, asking if it is possible to purchase Scholl, but the owner Frank is not interested. So he loves the brand. We all love the brand, and so that's why it's nothing what we are thinking about. And I would say it's also something what is interesting, or what when we look into the future, I think this could also make the difference in between other manufacturers or other brands. That the other manufacturers they are owned by some financial groups, and so all the people who started up the business, who brought the ideas into their business, they are not there anymore. And this is something, if you compare it to a private owned company, still keeps everything alive. You have some innovations, and probably that will hopefully change.
Yeah, you kind of retain the expertise and retain the passion. And it was interesting, you were saying how, going through the big German manufacturers. Yeah. And it's basically yourself and Menzerner who are remaining in terms of the compound game, who are privately owned.
Correct.
And you were very adamant. You said, look, both of these companies, they're private, they've got passion, they've got drive. You wouldn't be surprised if some of the other big names that all of our listeners will have heard of, who are owned by conglomerates and all the rest of it, will actually just slowly fade away due to lack of investment, lack of research development, lack of drive.
Sitting on the laurels.
Exactly. And it'll be, the tenacious, privately owned, technically smaller as a consequence, companies that will persevere. It's an interesting topic because there are some takeovers I've seen. So just use an example, a mutual friend of all of ours is Flex. Yeah. And they've gone through turmoil in the past when they were being bought out by hedges and stuff like that. But now they're owned by a big company that is generally investing in them and pushing them forward and also introducing their technology from their area of expertise. And the impression, we were only there yesterday, the impression we get is, really good. It's going
working.
Yeah, exactly. They're going on the up. Whereas I've seen other companies. So we talked to a chappie who worked for another company, one of your competition, in fact, and he'd worked there for ages when this company was in private ownership. And as soon as it's been bought out by a company from a different country, he was like, no, I'm not. I don't want anything to do with these guys.
Yeah, that's, I think, the bad thing about it. They don't care a lot about the brand anymore and about the people, and that's why it's
just milking the cash cow.
Yes.
Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely. Incidentally, it is definitely milking the cash cow, because when you use the analogy just milking the cow, it's just, apparently it's weird.
Yeah. But also the changement in the industry, you always have to bring new products, new developments, and also the paint system is changing, so you also have to develop new products. And I'm sure with brands like Scholl or other brands who are private owned, you can still get new developments, and with companies what are not private owned anymore, probably the know-how is not there anymore, and so you don't get anything new. And
that's the resource company, isn't it? It's not just the bricks and the mortar or the branding, all the rest of it. It's the people.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating thing. We've seen it with the trade where, the people move from company to company, and they do. There aren't very many, what do you call them, type of chemists, formulating chemists. There aren't that many formulating chemists in this world. And they all seem to know each other.
Yeah, it's a small industry.
I've talked to a lot, all not just in Germany, and they're all like, oh yeah, I know him, went to school with him, it's interesting, and it's interesting to see where they end up,
Yeah.
They obviously can tell a company. And if I was a formulating chemist, I'm not, far too stupid for that sort of thing. I could see working here would be very cool indeed. And not just because the forklifts and the big digger are around. But anyway, before we get too silly, is there any other things that we want to talk about, Ian, perhaps?
No, we're going to go for a break now, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Martin Kommander.
What a cool name that is.
Automechanica 2023, widely known as the most important trade show for the UK automotive industry, with over 500 leading exhibitors taking part. It's on at the NEC in Birmingham between the 6th and 8th of June, and brand new for 2023, we have a dedicated detailing area as well as the Detailing Live Hub. Industry Educators UK Detailing Academy are hosting practical demonstrations, manufacturer showcases and answering all of your detailing related questions. So visit the Automechanica Birmingham website today to book your free ticket.
And we're back. And this time we have replaced a Matthias with a Martin. In fact, we have somebody with perhaps the coolest name in detailing, Martin Kommander with a K. How are you today, Martin?
Thanks a lot. Hello.
Hello. And we are going to be doing some myth busting with yourself. But first, I'd like you just to tell us a little bit about your background.
I was educated as a carpenter and also did a master degree in car painting, and I'm responsible for Scholl in Germany, and I'm also responsible for the technical education of our customers. I do the trainings. I do the master trainings for the Flex Detailing Academy together with Scholl, and I give the technical support inside Scholl concerning product developments and product management.
Gotcha. So that's a pretty impressive CV. I would say.
You're the problem solver.
Kind of, yeah.
See, that differs from me. I'm a problem creator.
I was about to say, it's kind of literally your polar opposite.
Yeah. It's like looking in the mirror.
So I'm the answer of you.
One thing we've been talking all day, and we met first, I think, at the detailing show.
Yes.
It feels like many years ago, but it wasn't. It was only one year ago. Blimey. And then again at Decon, we just kept bumping into each other. It was weird. Yeah. People started asking questions.
Yeah. Some rumors were created.
Yeah. So moving swiftly on, clear coat myths. Yeah. And the first one I want to hit is paint fade.
Yep.
So tell us about paint fade and what causes it.
Just to clarify, on the myth we're chasing here is that when a clear coat is curing, when it's baking in the oven, while it's still liquid, a clear coat contains UV blockers, and the story is that these can float towards the surface, so you've got a collection of UV blockers on the top, and if you take away too much of that initial top coat, that takes out a majority of the UV blockers within it. So what is the truth behind that?
Well, let's say with my experience as a carpenter, I never saw or experienced that effect that we are talking about now, and as I heard, because it's also in the binders and not only in the solid state of the material, it is everywhere in the layer of the clear coat.
Is it fully suspended?
Yeah, it's fully suspended, and it, of course, maybe the UV protection gets a bit lower than when you thin or sand down the layer of the clear coat, but it's not that much as maybe somebody is telling. You see outside lots of very hard and often polished cars, but they don't have any color fading. You have only color fading by single layer cars. So as I experienced with the famous red.
Yeah, opal red or voxel red to the rest of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is a different story. It's because of the not UV resistant pigments inside. There was a change in the law somewhere in the 90s, and it's about the lead oxide inside, which had to be changed in something else because it was banned for producing. And but I never experienced that I had a bleached out car somewhere because it was polished too often.
Well, there's a bit of a counter to this. There are two, in fact. So one, I always heard that red cars fade quicker than others because the colour red, and it's to do with sunlight being UVs. So that's on so you imagine the colour spectrum, the visible colour spectrum, colour light spectrum. At one end you've got infrared and then red, and on the other side you've got violet and then ultraviolet, which is obviously not visible to humans, but it's what makes us so crispy and red in the sunshine. And because the red is at the opposite side of the UV, it apparently is the highest energy light. It absorbs the most energy and therefore is the quickest to break down and oxidize and therefore fade.
Never heard about it.
I've been smashed down.
Hey, if you want an interesting red paint fact, I've actually got one, and it's from the States in the 50s, and it was when red pigments first started to become more stable because stop signs used to be yellow, and they changed them to red.
That is an interesting aside. And then there's one other thing to throw into spanner, and this is something that I'm guessing, because Honda isn't very popular over here in Germany, nor Subaru. I've only seen two so far, a Tribeca and a Forester, tragically.
We have seen a Lada Riva.
We have seen a Lada Riva, which is very cool. That was yesterday. However, there is a Honda red that we believe still fades despite having a clear coat.
Also, I've never seen that. Or let's say maybe there are so less cars here in Germany with that certain red that we couldn't experience that.
It just hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
Would the substrate have any effect on it? As in, if it was just the plastic bumpers that were fading to red, to pink.
Maybe sometimes the bumpers or the let's say the additional parts are painted in a different way with a different color because even they can't stand the same temperature. So there are other binders are used than for the rest of the body of the car. So maybe because of that. And also we have that, you see it some from time to time, even at high-class manufactured cars, that you have color differences in between the body and the bumper.
Yeah.
And this is also because of the static of the material. So it's also because the metal pigments go in other direction a bit. And maybe because of that, the color seems to be different and maybe also a bit brighter or lighter than the rest of the body. And of course, you can make the appearance of color if you have a very light underground, like white or something like that.
Different color primers.
Yeah, different color primers. Then you can play with the color. You make it more bright or more dark. That's for sure. Yeah, but this is nothing affecting with the UV to come to the start of the question.
That's interesting. Well, on that same kind of vein, in terms of things, in your words, actually swimming to the top, what's fascinating, a lot of detailers for a long time, really since Mercedes brought out ceramic clear, have, I won't say struggled with ceramic clear paints, but with kind of ultra high solids and just harder clear coats. There has been kind of, well, it's a challenge. I mean, why am I talking about this?
They're an absolute pain in the arse if you go in hard and fast. As it were.
Most things were a pain in the arse.
Hard and fast, pain in the arse, anyway. Next podcast, please.
But anyway, Martin, tell us about the chemistry behind these, because you've actually worked, well, Scholl has worked with the manufacturers of these paints, haven't they?
Yeah. We worked with the manufacturer. I did it also with in my job before when I worked for Milka for the OEM department. We had to repair that clear course direct online when they had to be repainted or things had to be repainted. And you have two different types. You have one, the real scratch resistant, like the ceramic clear coat Mercedes was providing this time. Other ones had that also. And the scratch improved. This was a lighter version of the ceramic clear coats. But it was always like that the ceramic parts were coming to the surface as long as the clear coat was, after the applying, was liquid. So if you went through this first hard layer, it became more easy to polish and to work on it. But you have to get through this first layer, let's say.
It's
like
kind of outer shell, like an eggshell almost.
Yeah. So.
But I suppose from a detailing point of view, that's a bit confusing, because if you're found your pad and polish combo and your arm movement and pressure and all the rest of it, and it's all working fine, and then you get through that layer, and then suddenly everything goes to pieces. Or if somebody else has polished a panel before, and you're doing one panel, it's behaving in one way, and you go to the next panel, and it's misbehaving a different way.
Yeah, but it's a challenge, huh?
Yeah, indeed.
Did the ceramic element have a lifespan?
No.
No.
As long as they are covered completely in the polyurethanic layer, what should happen to them? So
it's because it's not like the thermoreactive paints that are almost self-healing, as it were. They have a lifespan of three or 4 years, don't they?
Yeah, because
lose elasticity.
Because there's something inside to keep them moving. Let's say it like that. So and this could fade out. It's like it's the same like when plastic gets harder. during the time, because
The plasticizers, maybe.
the plasticizers fade out. It's the same effect. Yeah, but on the other side, because the ceramic, this is really rigid. So what should happen to it as long as it's covered with the binders and everything?
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Another polemic thing which is fascinating that I learned from you today is that I've always believed when you're polishing paint, it's to do, part of the abrasion is obviously coming from the compound and part of the abrasion is coming from the pad. But you, in the nicest possible way, rocked my world earlier today, and you told me about actually the role of a pad, because obviously from a friction point of view, as you pointed out, you could rub anything against paint and it's going to have an abrasion element to it. So what in your book is the role of the pad? What does it do?
So first of all, sorry for rocking your world.
Oh, it was fun.
So let's say it like that. So we experienced, or we took a closer look on that, because we are also pad manufacturer, and then maybe you get deeper because you are facing more raw materials than other ones than just buying from the catalog a certain pad.
Yep.
And we figured out that a big role is one big role is the size of the bubbles of the foam, because they are responsible for how much polishing compound is carried over the surface. And the next one is the hardness of the pad, and also the elasticity of the pad. So because this influences the moving of the powder binder compound mixture over the surface. And of course, a pad itself could affect the surface, but this could a backing pad without a pad also.
That's true. Yeah, just the backing plate could do a lot of damage, in fact.
Yeah. So,
but and what's interesting is the relationship, the difference between elasticity and hardness. Because on the one hand, you think, well, you put your finger into a pad and it bounces back, it's got elasticity, but it can have elasticity and still be a hard pad, can't it?
yeah, of course. So because you have the side moving also. It's not only from top to bottom; it's also what happens from side to side. Because even if you have a rotable polishing machine, you have a circulating movement. You have side forces. You have to bring on the surface, and also you have to bring the force from the top to the surface for the polishing outcome, for the objective, and because of that, it's very important. And these, but on the other side, these are the parameters you can play with. If you want to affect also the structure of the clear coat, or if you want to keep it like it is, and also how fast you are affecting the clear coat, and this causes also is also responsible for the temperature you're bringing into the complete system.
Well, on the subject of temperature, and it's related, what is your opinion? So pads, as you know, come in many different shapes and sizes, and you get some with kind of waffle weave, as we call. We've got some with blades, some with holes in the middle, some without holes in the middle. And we've talked to lots of manufacturers or producers of pads or sellers of pads and said, what's your opinion on these? What's your opinion on that? And we've had lots of very differing stories. So it'd be fascinating to get your take. Do pads need to have holes in?
It depends. It depends of the structure of the foam. So, for example, our navy pad or our spider pad navy blue has a hole in the middle. This is because we have a very dense foam, and we experience that it's better to have a hole in the middle so that we transport some of the heat away. But in the orange pad, this is not necessary because it's breathing enough that we can work with a full surface without a hole in the middle.
So the hole does generally contribute to the lower running temperature of a pad.
Yes, but it's also the heat which is created from the machine. Like if you have a forced orbital, the gear itself creates a lot of heat, and this heat has to put away somewhere. And then it's better you have a hole over there than to
push it into the back.
So the hole in the middle will still get hot, obviously, because it's just heating up.
Nobody measured it, but we have a open side where the temperature can move away. We experience on the other side that if we are using the same pad without a hole, it could create, if you go really hard with a hard polishing compound with high speed, a long time, it could create a bubble, and the glue starts to melt again. So this was, and then we punched a hole in it, and
pad failure through.
we got rid of the problem. So
And then, so what do you think about the different surface? I wouldn't say textures, because obviously texture is very, very important, but that's more to do with the kind of the nature of the foam. And what's really interesting is with Scholl, just as an aside, you guys, you get your foam in, but your foam is made to your specifications rather than having kind of generic foam that you then cut pretty pictures out of. But in terms of the surface contours, if you like, of them, what do you think is the relevance? Do you think they're important? Do you think a flat pad is absolutely fine? Do you think you need to have lots of different textures? What do they do?
No, it depends a bit. Let's say it like that. So even a waffle pad, So technically seen, maybe somebody says it's not the big issue if it's waffled or not, but on the other hand, you have a bigger surface. And you have a better adaptation if you have a car which is not only a flat shape, so you have some edges and stuff like that, bendings, where it follows better the form.
I see what you mean.
At the end, if you put it on a flat surface like a bonnet,
no difference.
No difference, because it will be pushed down completely.
Gotcha.
So
actually, that's a really interesting point. I didn't realise that. Of course, if you've got lots of hills and valleys, you're basically massively increasing the surface area of your pad. Oh, it's so clever, isn't it? So clever. And actually, on that topic, obviously, Scholl is well known for your pads, and the spider pads have been around for a long time. How do they work? What's their kind of relevance?
Spider pads were invented because the industry came to us and said they want to exchange the lamb's wool, because there are several issues with lamb's wool, like waves in quality. It makes a difference if you take the wool from the back or from the belly or from the side.
And when you're murdering lambs as well.
You could avoid that with the artificial, with the knotted ones. But you bring, and this was the main topic for the car manufacturers, you bring lots of lints in it. Because it's not nearly impossible to produce them lint-free.
Yeah, you find fibers flying across the workshop.
So everyone knows that if you take a lamb's wool out of the package, put it on the backing pad, turning it the first rounds, you see the white swirls everywhere.
You look, got a family of cats at home or something. It's just sheds all over.
You do have a family of cats at home.
I have a dog, but you see it. Yeah. No, but and so this is for a car manufacturer. This is killing. And they said, okay, we want to have something similar like a lamb's wool, but scalable by a million, let's say it like that, without the lints and everything. And then we started developing, and the outcome was the spider pad, because we're cutting the surface in small squares, also in the third dimension, and then this gives us a surface increase by 4. Yeah.
Wow. Effectively the same as coating all the individual fibers of the wool pad with the polish and the lubricant.
So because this is also the secret behind the lamb's wool pad, that on every wire you have the polishing compound, and so you have a very huge surface affecting your polishing ground. And this is what we try to assimilate with the spider pads.
Gotcha. And a more recent development is the Ninja pad. Now, tell us about the Ninja pad.
The Ninja pad, when we developed the Ninja pads, the idea behind was, on the one hand, to show the market what is possible in the meantime in pad production. So, and the cutted out edges is that you can see on a certain speed of the machine, you can look through them and you see what's happening below. And you can go better into the edges. This is the idea behind the Ninja pads. And
I mean, you've got all the kit. We've seen you've got custom-made machines, so not just custom foam, but the actual machines for cutting the various shapes and slices and dices and all the rest of it is entirely bespoke to your designs. And we met your kind of machine master, if you like, who was involved in the R&D of it, and he's been working at the company for 17 years or something like that. He's the expert on it. And it's kind of, the Ninja, I felt, was a bit of a showcase of what you can achieve, because it's such a intricate three-dimensional shape to be able to cut on a pad. There's nothing else like it on the market. And to be able to see through while you're working does hold merit. What's your favourite pad that Scholl make?
Honestly, it's the Navy pad. Yeah, so because I'm a carpenter, as I told in the beginning, I'm a carpenter. So I'm more in the rough polishing.
Rough polishing sounds kinky.
Removing scratches and stuff like that. And it's a multi-purpose pad which doesn't also affect fresh clear coats. And you can use it for fresh clear coats. You can use it for used paints, and it lives very long because of the density of the foam. Because of that, it's my favorite.
It's your favorite all-rounder sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, in the flavour of asking you lots of difficult questions, we are going to do our 10 quick questions, which are ironically named. And as you are the resident car enthusiast as well, we're expecting some decent answers and probably a bit of banter and disagreement. However, we shall kick off with, what are your current cars?
During my business days, working days, I drive a Mercedes, and in the weekend I jump in my RS5.
So your Mercedes is we've just been in it. It's a bit of a tank. I'm not gonna lie. It is huge.
Yeah.
And it's a GLE.
Yeah.
And is it the 300 CDI?
Put a 50 beside, and then you're right.
350 CDI. Yeah. It sounds pretty meaty. It's got lots of clever things like 3D parking and stuff like that. But the RS5, come on, let's focus on this because that's a V8, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a 4.2 litre V8 with a 40 valve engine. And how much does that put out? 400 and something brake, is it?
450 horsepower.
450. That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent. But imagine you had all of the money in the world. What would you buy? Car-wise, obviously.
That's a very, very hard question, because there are lots of cars I love, which are iconic for me. If I had to choose one, I would choose a Mercedes 280 SE convertible.
280 SE, so that's not a Pagoda.
No, that's the W111.
Okay, so it's a saloon convertible. So it's a very fine shape, isn't it?
It's a coupe convertible.
Yeah, coupe convertible. I think that was in, God, I'm really going to embarrass myself here. I think that was in Bridget Jones's Diary. I think that's what What's It faced.
Yes, you have.
Floppy hair took What's It over to for a date in. Anyway, they're very elegant cars, and that's not the answer I was expecting. I was expecting something sportier, lighter, less sort of dignified.
Yeah, a Porsche beside would always be nice.
Okay. So if you go back into the mists of time, because you, like me, are chronologically enhanced, what is the first car that you ever detailed?
You're going to hate me for that for the answer now. This was a Lamborghini Diavolo special edition, number 35 of 50, I suppose, anniversary edition in black, and it was done with Scholl compounds.
What?
Why did you decide to cut your teeth on a Diablo?
Yeah.
I was working that time as a shop floor manager in a body shop, and it was a very good customer of us, and he had that car beside, and he had a struggle because he drove a road where lots of cement was lying on the road, and he came with that car to us and said, the insurance is paying for it, but you have to fix it. And so he said, okay, let's do it.
When you say cement, are we talking like globs of cement, or
No,
just dust?
The dust.
Okay,
But
that's
there
really
was some water also on the car at the same time. So we had a bit of struggle, but it worked. And I called the brother and the brother-in-law of the owner of the company of Scholl Concepts this time, because he was supplying us with the normal polishing compound for paint nipping. Said, but I need something to get rid of the holograms afterwards, and so he brought me the S40 this time. Yeah, with a black waffle pad and a rotor bottle compressed air sander, big one, a polisher. And then we got rid of the holograms, and this was my first experience in detailing.
And how long ago was that?
In 2002, so this is more than 20 years ago.
Blimey. I'd like to say I was still at school, but that'd be a lie. So when you are washing a car, and this is a personal question, so apologies in advance, but how many buckets do you use?
I know, I should say 2, but I only use 1.
And how do you justify such sin? No, a giggle doesn't work.
It's my bloody car.
It's my car, and I need to create the scratches to show the customers afterwards how to remove the scratches. So because of that, I do it only with
So it's
one bucket
for deliberate graffiti defacing of the
so
vehicle.
I put them also to the machine washers because of that.
But that's quite common over here, isn't it? It's running through machine washers. It's due to environmental regulations. You're not allowed to do a lot of your own at home.
Yes, also, and hand washing in the clean parks in Germany is also very difficult because some of the owners of the clean parks, they don't like if you bring your own material to the clean parks, maybe do a special hand wash. So if you have a known place to wash your car, you're lucky, and then you can do it like you want. But on the other hand, you don't have any other chance, and then go to Mr. Wash or somewhere else. And
It's not exactly like you've got a full detailing centre you can use anytime you want to.
Yeah, and loads of detailing products and just sitting around.
But honestly, if you are the whole week into detailing and stuff like that, and it's about your own car on the weekend. Germany, we have a saying: the shoemaker's shoes are the worst.
Yeah, well, it's like a mechanic's car's always unserviced. And it explains why Ian and I both drive filthy, dirty cars all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's for testing purposes.
Absolutely. Another personal question. Do you like a rotary or do you like a DA? How do you like to go round?
100% rotary.
Oh, okay, old school.
I love it, and for my opinion, and for many others in the meantime, you get a better outcome, you get a better objective, because you get more gloss and you get a better surface.
And if you weren't forced to pick one or the other, would you still use a DA for certain processes, or would you just use a rotary?
I would use a rotary, but I'm using for more than 20 years a rotary, so
it kind of feels natural, I guess.
Yeah.
No, we were discussing about how DAs have made access to detailing to be able to achieve a reasonable finish with less skill and experience than if you only had rotaries, and how it sort of changed the industry, the professional side of the industry particularly. It's a fascinating topic, but not one for the 10 quick questions. Another question, and I think I know where you're going to go because you're old school, hence the rotary and all the rest of it. Would you, once you've finished washing your car with your one bucket and your yard brush, would you like to coat it with a ceramic coating, or would you like to wax it with a wax coating?
I'm totally old school. I use a wax.
I thought you might.
Yeah, but this is something emotional, because a wax you can use more often. If you put a ceramic on it, you at least 1 year you don't have to do anything. So I use a wax.
Well, I'm going to extend this question then, because I know some what I call waxmeisters like to apply the wax with their bare naked fingers. How do you use a foam pad, a microfiber pad, or do you finger it on?
You know the secret behind the fingering.
No.
I'm just going to leave the room.
Or why let's say it in a more diplomatic way, why they use their hands for applying the wax.
Is it because the heat in your fingers helps the wax stay kind of soft?
Yes, because the melting point of carnauba wax is normally exactly 37 degrees. And if you didn't sleep in biology, you know what
most people are 37 to 38 degrees.
They should be, yeah.
And I found at 29 they're quite unresponsive. So it's because
it helps spreading the wax on the surface. And yes, I'm one of them.
You're pro fingering.
Yeah.
No, important stuff.
What's your favourite? What's your go-to wax?
Yes, I was wondering
what's your favourite fingering?
That's like
it was a Thursday.
Can we jump to the beginning? I'm googling the whole night now.
God help me.
on YouTube.
Erase your browser.
So shush. What's your favourite wax?
My favourite wax, of course, it's a Scholl wax. It's a vintage wax.
Scholl vintage, and that actually won the mega test many moons ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It imparted the most gloss of anything, and we put up against some heavy hitters, some Swiss wax and various other.
Fireball was in that one, wasn't it?
Fireball was. God, do you remember Fireball?
Yeah.
Where have they gone? But we had things like R222 and stuff like that, which are serious gloss contenders. And it was vintage
came out on top.
And we were at Autoglim, so completely unbiased, and we used all of their expensive equipment. And there was a man there in a white coat. I think he was a chemist. I hope so. He talked about chemistry. In pure, unadulterated testing, vintage came out best for gloss enhancement.
For me, it's It combines everything you need or what you expect from an expensive wax, let's say it like that. So the usage, the smell, the gloss improvement, of course, how long it lasts, and also because also a bit the color, because it's a bit of beige,
yeah.
and this gives your color a bit a warmer shape, let's say it like that, because it's not clearly white, like not technical white or clear, like the rock, for example. So it's a bit.
I hear you, but
warmer.
I didn't think you would believe in color-charged waxes. I would have thought that you'd be like, well, if you're adding any color to thing, you'd be reducing the gloss.
Yeah, that's a bit different story. Let's say it like that. So if you have a light color like beige, it's no issue with that. So, but if you go to dark pigments, of course, on a certain point you start blocking the gloss because you're limiting the layer of the transparent layer, which appears like a glass to improve the gloss or to.
Yeah, well, you did a mini, didn't you, where you wet sanded, you lacquered and then wet sanded down and then lacquered again and created some absolute killer gloss that I hear on the internet was big news.
Well, I was going to say earlier on we were talking when we were looking through the range and your W6 black wax, and you're saying there's been kind of misinformation put out there that because black is in its name, it's only for black cars.
By YouTubers.
Yeah, we had some things in the past. Now in the new catalog, it's completely explained. We have the black series, let's say it like that. So these are the detailing series. So now it's more understandable. Of course, maybe it's also following that lots of people are asking, do you have special compounds for black cars? So, and also to meet them. But in general, it's like that. Black means it's a detailing. It's a detailing range.
It's kind of like, say, Mercedes blends AMG Black Series. Yes, it's the level beyond. It's actually got nothing to do with the color.
It's a top level. Yeah,
it's color neutral.
Yeah, it's color neutral. Doesn't affect the color. On the other hand, what I want to say in addition about the W6 Black is we have some Si3D particles inside, so you have a better protection than with a common wax. But on the other hand, we don't have any abrasives inside. So because we had sometimes people expecting that we have a bit
AIO style.
Yeah. So but this is not. Of course, it couldn't because the abrasives are destroying the SE3D and so.
So there's a pure liquid wax.
Pure liquid wax with ceramics inside.
And you don't apply it with your fingers.
No.
Good. We got that cleared up. A question that I suspect, given where we are in the world, I know the answer to. Would you like, if you had the choice, a gorgeous, curvy, raucous, like hope-evoking Ferrari, or would you like Photocopier Salesman of the Year award Porsche?
I would choose the Porsche.
Yeah. Yep. Whatever I do, I thought it was always going to end up that way. Probably irritates a lot of people by calling
When's a Ferrari ever been hope-evoking?
Hope-evoking.
I hope for God this thing doesn't catch fire.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. Okay, much more serious question with much more serious consequences. Subaru or Mitsubishi?
Subaru.
Why?
Yeah. Why?
I'm making sure you're not a fake.
You know my answer before was Porsche.
Yes.
So this is self-explaining now because I like boxer engines.
Ah, okay.
I thought it was because you had a dog, so you need something to put the dog in. Have you ever got Labrador?
No, I have a Sharpie. He's very small, so he can sit in the front, so it's no problem. I can even get an Impreza or something like that. So, yeah. But it's because of the boxer engines, and I like what the Subaru guys do.
It's like, yeah, well, they helped Porsche, so it's engineering superiority at its best. Marvelous. Another question that I suspect is a foregone conclusion. Foregone. Flex or Rupes?
Of course, Flex.
Of course, Flex. And final question. Imagine you're here in Swabia where the sun is shining on a Sunday. You've done all your work commitments. You've done all your family commitments. You've been to church. And it's just you and your RS5. You have the option. You could either do your one bucket brush wash or you could go for a drive in the lovely countryside around here.
self-answering question. I will take it
is,
for a
isn't
ride.
Yeah, quite understand.
Drive to the auto wash.
Yes.
I take it to Mr. Wash.
That is cool. Well, Martin, look, it has been an absolute pleasure for you, showing us around here, and it's been a very informative and impressive day, generally, I think.
Yeah.
And secondly, for putting up with our facetious questions for the last 30-something minutes.
Poking our lenses and fingers everywhere.
That was you rather than me, to be fair. And to be fair, I think Martin enjoyed some of it. So anyway, that leaves just me to say thank you very much, and we hope to get you on the podcast again soon.
Whenever you want. The pleasure is on my side, or was on our side, let's say it like that.
Mutual.
So we're very, very happy that to welcome you over here, that you take your time, visit our premises, and then took a closer look on the production sides and also on the training side. Was also for us a very informative day, and
These English people, they're strange.
and I have to apologize for my poor English, of course.
Oh, it's a damn sight better than my German. And it's even better than his French. Anyhow, on that, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.